Anyway, this is the best, most fun part of all our streams is my little review of the game right afterwards. Oh, excuse me. And so, let's see. Yeah, might as well. Like, we don't have the. Oh, we don't have backdrop music for this one. It's okay. We can live without it for now. So normally I would. This is the way I review games is usually I look. In this case, this is a story-based game as well. So I usually review the story and the graphics and the sound and the gameplay, of course, because that's actually the most important part. Well, some people don't think it is, the interactive movie people, but I find the gameplay better than the review. Well, yeah. Well, I say that I'm joking. My reviews are just basically to summarize how I felt while playing, and it's best to do it this time because I have just it's all fresh in my mind, and to do it later and have forgotten everything I was looking through. Okay, so story wise, here's one of the interesting things about this game. Like, I actually do really, really like this story. Like, there's just so many gripping moments where you're just like, you don't know what's gonna happen next, and you're just interested in finding out. And this story is so good at building suspense, and sometimes you're just scared to find the truth itself. And like now we kind of understand. We have some understanding. We know what a BD is, but before that, you just didn't know what was going on, and that was good at making you think hard. And even now, like, we're still not even all of our questions are not answered, but and either that or maybe we're all a little slow. Like, I feel a little slow on the uptake, but like it was so good at doing that. And this is probably I can see why this won an award because I'll get into this more when we get to the gameplay part, but like this story is so interesting and so it works so well with the gameplay structure that you feel compelled to play. And like graphically, I'll go and you just don't and it's just so good that you're just picking up pieces and bringing them all together and just like random things. It's like going through someone's memories because not all the memories are related to the main plot in the end, of course, because they're just things she's just recovering from her childhood memories that she's forgotten, and now she understands. And then like the whole reveal about Sean actually not being an actual thing, and like I thought that was brilliant. I was just like, she's not real. He's the fake. He's her, but she's playing another person. It's just another personality, and it's not a clinic. This is just a place. Like that reveal was brilliant. Like I was so impressed, and like I had not seen that coming at all. And I mean, oh, I might as well load the game up because we can see all the memory fragments too. But like you just like the phone, like it's so good at keeping you on your toes, and that's what I really really liked about it. The other thing I want and the other thing I wanted to mention is like graphically this game is all right. Like I've talked a lot about how great the story is, and I really do like it. The only thing is that yeah, no, like it's a little confusing, but I don't know if that's a criticism or more like it was just kind of deliberately left up to you for some of those parts. The other, so with that said, let's move on to like the graphics. Graphically, this game is not very like the sprites and the artwork is very nice. There's not a whole lot of portraits, but you do feel like at least the sprites feel unique, and you are interested in all the scenario, and you can kind of tell what's going on in each scenario. And it's very artistic. So I think the sprites are very good. The only thing is that yeah, it's kind of for a PlayStation you could go even further, and they kind of ended up not doing that. They only had a year of development from the RPG Maker original, which has far works in the far worse in the graphics department. Yes, one thing I do think the graphics are good at is like the text is moving in like a typewriter, and I always thought that was a really cool effect. And some of the effects with visually are actually really really impressive. Like despite how like oh it's 2D sprites, it's not pushing the PlayStation 1 to its full power, but they were able to use even this 2D representation like with in very interesting ways, and to kind of it was able to like the use of color and the use of how things were planned, and this is a great way to like kind of establish the atmosphere where it's like all like memories are just hazy, and she can't, because she's blind, you can't see anything really in color except the color she's red. And I always thought that was very interesting, and it's only and like it kind of clears up at the end when she finally like is able to see the memories for what they are, and not as a piece of disconnected things. And I think that's a really really awesome thing they did. And like key items are colored so they stand out very well, so you're never really confused well. And I like the interesting thing is just like the investigation part where you flip on, you're like I can find things, and I was like a good way to bring in like this feeling of an investigation where like I'm going to find what's here, and I know it's going to be really significant. Well, for the most part, there's some things where it's like she was just remembering this portion, but it's interesting. Like all the things she remembers were the things she's observed in the story. What else did I want to say about the graphics? I mean, sprite works good, and like the movies are interesting where like you switch to this FMV and the art is lovingly done, and like I was really happy about that too. So I really enjoyed that, as well. And I was like, wow, they really did a good work on the art to like this 2D art, and it's just production value beyond the normal, usually beyond many RPG Maker games, and for good reason considering this had an actual budget. But yeah, it's so like they managed to present it, and like there's the tense moments, the flashes are all like well done too, and you can feel, and like I loved it a lot, and like this this is despite not pushing the graphic, like it's never gonna get like they didn't push the PlayStation power, but it's just like sometimes like I feel like these games have aged a lot better because they look like actual things, and they don't look like over polygony representations of humans and animals like a lot of PlayStation games at this time suffered from, where the representation. But yeah, it's very artistic. They knew how to use what they had. And oh my goodness, we're gonna get to sound. I just have so much to say about like this game should get an award for great sound design. Like this is really like I'm so sad that most people overlook this, because this music in this game is really really good. They were able to evoke moods, that feeling of like the heartbeat and the ominous ticking of the clock, and you just remember those moments. And like there's some voice acting as well to kind of bring you in, and like music, like the music changes for like those were really well done. And like this game also, like they knew how to convey the stories, like intense moments or serene moments in some cases. And like I would totally get a soundtrack of this game, like it's that good. And it's just the soundtrack is really good, and they were able to use like there's a lot of camera flashing because of the changes and like the piercing of the glass to break the barriers. That was really to kind of like emphasize. That was really good to kind of keep it. You broke a lot of glass in this game, that's for sure. And like during the story scenes, they were able to use the sound very well as well. And so you can feel even though there wasn't like all FMV every time, or like I didn't play an anime movie, or like oh no there's not a ton of moving parts, but they were able to use sound to like, and even sound like sometimes things had no, like especially in the ending there was no sound, there was no video, but there was sound, and you were just left to like wonder what happened, what's going on. They just kind of keep that mystery around, and the heartbeat to give tense moments. Those are like that game. This game is really really good in that department. And I could keep talking about it, but I think we got the point at this point. And yes, this game is really good, and all of it works together with the gameplay. Now the gameplay is interesting. Like normally you would say like, okay, this is a game that, like from the looks of it, if you didn't know, you would see this game and you see like, oh, it's none of those 2Ds like games, and you just kind of walk around and do things. But one thing that was interesting, like they were able to like one thing, that's the thing that works well with this game. The gameplay it's basically a maze game, and you just kind of remember places where you've been, and you kind of walk around. But it works well with the concept of the story. No one would have thought to frame like, okay, this is typically a maze game. I mean, I guess it's like, oh, it's not very innovative, like it's been done before. But the thing that this game excels in is combining this with a story that makes this whole setting make sense. It looks like disjointed things, but it's just like a memory. I know. And like you're just oh yeah, that part too. I'm waiting for someone who never. I thought her father was there. Me too. Her father was in jail, so it was kind of like, oh, he committed a crime and then he was taken to jail, and that's why he never saw. That was the last gift he gave her, the straw hat, because he committed a crime, and then before he was able to come back, before he escaped from jail. Anyway, so what was I thinking again? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay. So that's the genius of it. That's why this game won awards. It's because it was able to combine like a gameplay that was like kind of tried and true. It's been done. Like you just go around and picking up things and figuring out mazes. But it combined with a story, so that every single part of the maze actually, yeah, every single part of the maze actually made sense. It was part of some. It was a memory that you could get, and it's like just ways to get to those memories. And so you start to piece things together and restore her memories, and on the right you see her meter gradually fill up, and at the end of the game it's full, means that she has all her memory fragments. But that's why it worked. And even within each room there was like these visual and sound cues that changed how that room, the feeling you had in that room, and you were just like, wow, I'm I'm so excited to. I wonder what's going to happen here, and it really worked, and that's why the game is a success in that sense, and that's why it's so highly praised. And it's such a shame that most people can't play this, and it's a shame that nobody has actually bothered to translate it in English. And considering there's the freeware version is pretty good, but that's the base. That's like the prototype. This is the real thing. This is where they put all the love into it, and so. Like the reason why this game works is that even it's fun, you're interested in going, it goes well with the story, and you just want to find out more and more, and that's why you explore this maze and keep finding out things. In a way, it reminds me of it's like a more free roaming version of, like, there's a game called nine persons, it's like 9 persons 9 doors, or 999. That's another one that's kind of like this, but that's a little bit different. But there was love in the other version. I'm just saying, but this is like they went even further than that. Like the original version is pretty good, but like it just like they were able to they had more time to polish the game here, and that's why this version of the game is so much better. And it's a shame that the West can't experience it because nobody bothered to translate it in English. Only the Chinese people have translated it into Chinese, so that's why I had to play it with a translation and translating it for everyone. But I mean but yeah, that's why it all works together. Like that's why this game is good, and it's not too long either. It doesn't feel like it drags. So the only thing I would mention is in terms of weaknesses of the game is that okay, sometimes figuring out where to go, like how to get through things, like you were intended to go somewhere but you had to go through, like there was 1 or 2 times where you had to like go one way and then go backtrack and do that, and that was kind of, I felt like that was kind of hard to deal with sometimes, because other times you were just like, you just it ended up being a lot of trial and error. But I think the worst fault of the game, honestly, is the fact that none of the rooms, you cannot see what room, even though you can see the shape and the layout, you can't see what that room was. Unlike, say, Metroid or Castlevania from Symphony of the Night or something like that, you couldn't. Well, actually, not those. Well, those games in particular. Well, I think Metroid mostly, but like, at least you had an idea where you were. Metroid in particular is better about this, but like, you would be able to go into an area and just like see where it was. What this game could have done was maybe make all the rooms, that all the scene rooms, be labeled, so that if I went to, like, let's just say I went to the map like so, and then I could go through and scroll through each of the rooms and see what they were before, and then that will be a good way to record, like, oh, that's the room, like, that room is called Sin or whatever. I don't like that part, actually. I feel like you're kind of experimenting, but it's a lot of trial and error. That's not really thinking, more that you just kind of like, well, I don't know if this works, and I suspect it might be, so yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. I don't think that's actually very good. Like, you wouldn't know to do that until you, like, I can't go any further. And then then you end up getting misled, and you just end up trying to try all these different paths, and it just kind of wastes the player's time. And I don't think that's a great way to increase the lifespan of the playtime of the game. What I did want is the map to be more descriptive. It's just basically, the map being more descriptive would have been better, like just to seeing how each room is labeled, and then that would have gone long way to help the player have the information to go through each room. And so, and like, but other than that, like, that's the only real thing I would have improved on. And I mean, I can't say like I hope that they fix it for a sequel, but no, I guess they're never gonna make a sequel to this. And let me think. What am I going to say? And yeah, and it's too bad too, because the story kind of leaves out like, we're gonna escape, and then it's just like they're free. They're gonna leave Zebwell. I don't know. And like, you only have kind of an inkling of how the world is, because you're only given to it in bits and pieces. But anyway, but yeah, like, I do think like the game is the right length, and you do get to do a lot. You get to go through a lot of stuff, and you discover lots of things, so you never feel really, really bored. There are sometimes you might be a little stuck in occasionally, but like me, I got stuck a few times. That was kind of sucky. But generally there's enough to keep you interested, and you'll figure everything out. You'll figure out that you have to backtrack to some room to recover enough to get in. Like, it's not it's a minor quip at best. I don't think it cripples the game. It's just a slight annoyance. It's more the map that was kind of annoying to deal with sometimes. But yeah, I think I've talked enough about the gameplay. So, would I recommend this game? Yes, I would. If you can't, like, and even I would recommend, like, if you can't play this version, you need Chinese to play this version. A good Chinese knowledge to play this translation of the game. So if you are only versed in modern Chinese, this is the game for you. It would help if you knew some of the news, because there's news articles and documents that are going to be written more in the academic style. So one of the things I found was like some of the academic words I didn't realize until like, oh, that's what it actually means. It's cool. So this is more of an academic, unlike Shenzhen or other games in the wuxia genre, which is the RPGs types where it takes place in ancient China. They're not going to talk like that in this game. They talk like modern people, or like how people in the present talk. And so if you're learning Chinese, this is actually not a bad one to try to play. If you're a student of Chinese and you don't really know much about the ancient Chinese. So, and if so, I would even recommend the English version of the original if you want to experience the story for yourself in a language you understand. It won't be as fancy, and frankly, the only bad thing about the original is that the compatibility with new modern systems is really really bad. It's very hard to get it to work. So even the colors don't show up, so you're missing visual information. So that's my only warning. My only warning to you about playing the freeware PC version is that its compatibility is really bad. So colors don't show up when they're supposed to, and so sometimes it's difficult to figure out what you're supposed to do because the game is literally broken and it can't give you the clues. Unlike this version on the PlayStation, which does work, and if you feel like you can handle, you can even, if your Japanese is better than your Chinese, you can even attempt to do the Japanese version and play it on an emulator, or you could do what I did and burn a CD and play it on your PlayStation with some mod chip, not a mod chip, like with my Power Replay 3, if in case anyone's wondering what equipment I used. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to discuss about the story, and the story's awesome, but oh my goodness, it's gonna take some time to soak in. I'm probably gonna be hitting the discussion groups after this, because like there's just so much to say. So I think it's just best if I leave it to all of you to speculate, and we can, if anyone feels like talking in private, or maybe next time we could do it. I think we've all. I don't think there's an alternate ending, so I think we've seen all the scenarios that are possible. So yeah. I like the voices too. Yes, and like yes, the voice acting is good in this game. There's not too much of it given the limitations of the CD format, but there's enough for the important scenes. Let me think. Is there anything else? No, I think that's about it. So basically, yes, go play it. Even if you can get the PC version to run, go play it. If you have to use an emulator, you have to use a virtual machine to run it, go do that. Because like that's probably the only way you're gonna get it to run the original PC version. And if you're feeling adventurous, try the Chinese version if you know Chinese, or try the Japanese version, which is, and the thing is I should mention is that the Chinese translation for this game in particular is, wow, they were really really good. Unlike, unfortunately, like I'm to make this is kind of a side note to the review. I really don't feel that the English translation for the PC, the freeware version, is as good. I think like it gets the main points across, but I feel like the subtleties are kind of lost. It's kind of a very bare, like for me they kind of missed, like they didn't put in all the subtleties. So I'm like, they missed a few one or two lines here that were interesting in the original. And I did a side by side to check against it, and I was like, oh wow, the Chinese version was much better at preserving the subtleties. So that's the only thing I should mention. But the English version, yeah, and also the text limit is a problem in the English version. So I have a feeling they were limited by the text. I don't know. Either that, I just think the translator was just kind of did a general translation and didn't do word for word, didn't try to do word for word as well. Whereas the Chinese version, they spent a lot of time and made sure everything was translated. Everything was translated for sure. I was comparing the Japanese and Chinese side by side. I was very impressed. So that's what. So you don't worry. You've got most of the vision here, and I hope you understood what I had to translate. And please let me know if you didn't understand. We can talk about it some more. Oh, as always. However, with that, I think I can put an end to this review. I think, yeah, go get it. Why don't you have no reason to not to? If you can, go play it for yourself. If you liked what you saw here, maybe you'll see more things. Maybe the English version maybe the people who in the West who have let's played this will have more interesting have other interesting opinions on what actually happened in this game. All right.